What do cell phones, avocados, and your favorite sneakers all have in common? They're not just products, they're evidence. Proof of a world woven together by trade, by choices made in parliaments and cabinet, by ships crossing oceans and deals crossing fingers. But behind every shipping container lies a battle of ideas. A debate that's shaped empires, built fortunes, and toppled entire communities. Free trade versus protectionism. This isn't just an economic tug-of-war. It's about sovereignty, jobs, power, and the kind of world we want to live in. Welcome to A Clash of Minds, where we don't just ask questions, we ask the questions. Let's begin. At its heart, the debate boils down to a fundamental question: should nations open their borders to the free flow of goods and services, or should they implement policies to protect domestic industries from foreign competition? Let's break down each side of this complex coin. The proponents of free trade paint a compelling picture of global prosperity. Their arguments often hinge on the principle of comparative advantage, a concept first articulated by the economist David Ricardo. Imagine two countries. One excels at producing wool, the other at making wine. Free trade allows each nation to specialize in what it does best, leading to greater overall efficiency and higher output. It's like a global division of labor, maximizing productivity for everyone. This specialization leads to lower production costs, which in turn translates to lower prices for consumers. You get access to a wider variety of goods and services at more affordable rates, raising your standard of living. Think about the fruits and vegetables you enjoy year-round, the gadgets in your pocket, the clothes you wear. Much of this is made possible by international trade. But the benefits of free trade extend beyond just cheaper goods. It fosters competition, pushing domestic industries to innovate, become more efficient, and offer better products. Without the pressure of foreign competition, complacency can set in, stifling progress. Free trade acts as a catalyst for dynamism and improvement. Furthermore, free trade encourages the diffusion of knowledge and technology across borders. As nations trade, they exchange ideas, best practices, and technological advancements, leading to faster overall development. It's a global learning environment where everyone benefits from the collective ingenuity of humanity. And let's not forget the geopolitical advantages. Free trade can foster interdependence and cooperation between nations, reducing the likelihood of conflict. When countries are economically intertwined, the cost of war becomes significantly higher. Trade can be a powerful force for peace and stability. Now, let's turn our attention to the arguments for protectionism. Proponents of this approach emphasize the need to safeguard domestic industries and jobs from the perceived threats of foreign competition. One of the most common arguments is the infant industry argument. This suggests that new, emerging industries in a country need temp protection from established foreign competitors to allow them to grow, mature, and eventually become competitive on the global stage. Think of it as training wheels for a fledgling industry. For example, Alexander Hamilton, the U.S. Secretary of the Treasury, pushed tariffs to build America's infant industries in the 1790s, turning a fledgling nation into an industrial giant. Another key argument revolves around national security. Certain industries, such as defense, energy, and critical infrastructure, are deemed vital to a nation's security. Protectionist measures, like tariffs or quotas, can be used to ensure domestic sufficiency in these strategic sectors, reducing reliance on potentially unreliable foreign suppliers. The concern over job losses in domestic industries due to cheaper foreign labor is also a powerful motivator for protectionist policies. When faced with competition from countries with significantly lower wages, manufacturers may struggle to compete, leading to factory closures and unemployment. Protectionist measures are often seen as a way to protect local jobs and livelihoods. Furthermore, some argue for protectionism to address unfair trade practices by other nations, such as dumping, selling goods below their production, or the use of unfair subsidies. Protectionist measures, like anti-dumping duties, can be implemented to level the playing field and prevent domestic industries from being unfairly disadvantaged. Finally, protectionism can be seen as a way to promote self-reliance, and reduce a nation's dependence on foreign economies. This can be particularly appealing in times of global economic uncertainty or geopolitical instability. Now, as is often the case with complex economic issues, the reality is far more nuanced than a simple either/or. Both free trade and protectionism have potential benefits and drawbacks. The optimal approach often lies somewhere in the gray areas, and the specific context of each nation and industry matters immensely. While free trade can lead to overall economic gains, it can also result in job displacement in certain sectors, as industries face increased foreign competition. This can lead to social and economic disruption, if not managed effectively through policies like retraining programs and social safety nets. Conversely, while protectionism might shield certain domestic industries in the short term, it can also lead to higher prices for consumers, reduced choice, and retaliation from other countries in the form of trade wars, harming export-oriented industries. Think of the recent trade tensions we've witnessed globally. They highlight the potential downside of protectionist policies. Moreover, protectionism can stifle innovation by reducing competition and shielding inefficient industries from the need to adapt and improve. It can also lead to rent-seeking behavior, where domestic industries lobby for protectionist measures not to become more competitive, but simply to maintain their position. Throughout history, nations have experimented with various degrees of free trade and protectionism. The mercantilist era, for example, was characterized by strong protectionist policies aimed at accumulating wealth through trade surpluses. The 19th century saw a move towards greater free trade, particularly in Britain. The Great Depression of the 1930s witnessed a surge in protectionist measures, which many economists believe exacerbated the economic downturn. The post-World War II era saw the rise of international institutions like the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, GATT, and later the World Organization, WTO, which aimed to promote freer trade and reduce trade barriers. The rapid economic growth experienced by many nations during this period is often attributed, at least in part, to the expansion of global trade. Examining these historical examples provides valuable insight into the potential consequences of different trade policies, although the specific circumstances of each era must be carefully considered. Today, the debate over free trade and protectionism is as relevant as ever. We see rising concerns about globalization, the impact of trade on income inequality, and the strategic implications of relying on global supply chains, particularly in light of recent geopolitical events. The rise of economic nationalism in some parts of the world has led to renewed calls for protectionist measures. Issues like intellectual property theft, currency manipulation, and environmental and labor standards are also central to the contemporary trade debate. Finding the right balance between the benefits of open markets and the need to address legitimate domestic concerns is a critical challenge for policymakers around the world. The debate isn't simply about choosing one extreme or the other, but rather about crafting trade policies that promote sustainable and inclusive economic growth while safeguarding national interests. So, where do we go from here? Is there a way to harness the benefits of free trade while mitigating its potential downsides? Perhaps the answer lies in fair trade agreements that incorporate provisions for labor rights, environmental protection, and intellectual property. Maybe it involves strategic trade policies that target specific industries for support while still embracing the overall principles of open markets. It's clear that a one-size-fits-all approach is unlikely to be effective. The optimal trade policy will likely vary depending on a country's stage of development, its specific industries, and the prevailing global economic and political climate. Underneath the numbers, this debate is about values. Free trade champions openness, efficiency, global cooperation. It sees the world as a marketplace, with opportunities for all. Protectionism speaks to identity, sovereignty, local pride. It sees the world as a garden, worth tending, even if it costs more. One side says, let the best ideas win. The other says, some things are too important to compete. It's a clash between progress and preservation. And in a world where people feel left behind, where jobs disappear and hometowns shrink, emotions run deep. So what now? Should we throw open the doors to global markets or bolt them shut? The truth is, maybe we need both. We need trade that's smart, not just free. Policies that protect people, not just profits. Markets that reward fairness, not just efficiency. Because the question isn't free trade versus protectionism. It's this. How do we build a global economy that works for everyone? Can we balance innovation with inclusion? Sovereignty with solidarity? It won't be easy. But if we get it right, we won't just trade goods. We'll trade better futures. What are your thoughts on this crucial debate? Where do you think the balance lies? Let us know in the comments below. We're eager to hear your perspectives. If you found this discussion thought-provoking and insightful, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more in-depth analyses of the complex issues shaping our world. And don't forget to share this video with anyone you think might find it interesting. Thanks for joining us today. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep the debate alive.